everybody. You are listening to the Procure Smarter podcast. I am your host, Dr. Sharon Cook, and today we are going to be talking to the amazing Rebecca O'Brien, who knows all things about burnout and stress in the corporate world. So stay tuned for that. This episode and all episodes are sponsored by ProcureSmart Purchasing Agency. If you have a renovation, new construction, or conversion, and you need purchasing assistance, please reach out to us. We would love to assist you. And stay tuned. We'll be back with you. Hi, everybody. We have Rebecca O'Brien. She is the founder of Wellness by Rebecca. And through her one-on-one coaching, corporate programs, and speaking, Rebecca helps high achievers like me, I like to think, reduce stress, prevent burnout, and gain clarity and energy through developed strategies of unbreakable boundaries, mindfulness, for high-performing habits, which I can't wait to hear what a high-performing habit is, and aligned action. So, Rebecca, say hi.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me, Sharon. I'm so excited to be here today.
Thanks so
you.
much. All right, I gave you a brief introduction, but why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and then we'll talk about your journey.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So my name is Rebecca O'Brien, and I'm the founder of Wellness by Rebecca, and I help IT executives. I'm finding more and more people are approaching me from different industries, though, as we see burnout is very much across and has unfortunately risen in numbers, of course, with these two past year. But I do help them. I help them reduce stress and prevent burnout, and really focusing on creating that sustainable success with, harnessing our own power, leaning into peace, our purpose, but also the presence and the present moment of where we are right now, because that will ultimately be the foundation of us thriving and turning into the leaders that we already are.
Right. Okay, so the first thing I want to start with is you actually have a very interesting backstory. You experienced this firsthand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So tell me how you started this journey. Where were you working at, and what led to you going, I need a break?
Yes. It's it's interesting this, and especially when you say, just picking up on that, what led to me, finally realizing I need a break. And the funny thing is, and I'll kind of circle back to this again, is I didn't see the signs. I didn't see the signs. I didn't see the symptoms. I wasn't aware at all. I was basically, my head in the sand, and I really just ran right through that wall or wall of burnout, as we say. I just hit the wall or while running, and had no understanding of the brakes or when to pump the brakes, or let's say tools and resources and everything. And if we look back, for me, my corporate career has been about 15 years. And I did both, studying full time. I went to different international companies, worked marketing and sales with them full time. But I also understand now from my burnout is it was so many years of continuously, even through childhood and behaviors that I learned and from growing up of perhaps, examples I can share with you that other people might recognize. And with this high achieving, because I'm one myself, is the people pleasing and the lack of boundaries, the consistent, proving ourselves is another one. And there's different types of behaviors as we look at. We're actually coping skills of how we dealt through our stress or anxiety, or let's say traumatic situations growing up. And for me, I didn't have that, and I wasn't aware of that, and I was really running on autopilot. So with the years leading up to my burnout, I was, I was a single woman, didn't have family or let's say small children. And I started going to the doctor's office, and that's kind of the first things they would ask, what is your day-to-day life? What does that look like? Are you stressed? Do you have small children? Are you, a big family and things going on both outside of work and, of course, questions related to work? And for me, I didn't have that. I had a great job and a great career. I was traveling. I was going on, weeks long holidays, and just really, to me, living my best life, and
Mhm.
and continuing my goals, and the high achiever of chasing and going after my dreams, and really on the fast train, as I like to explain it. And when the symptoms started popping up, I saw one doctor, I saw another after that, and it went about 5 different doctors, 5 different hospitals throughout about a year and a half,
Okay.
because they were going through, they couldn't see directly what it was. And they were going through the processes of, is it, for me, it was the memory loss, and typical signs and symptoms of burnout,
Well,
where
that's what I'd like to. Can you
lack
share
of
what were your
focus.
symptoms?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my symptoms, so I started off, I felt that something was off, and I started off going to doctors, because I was, I was 35, 36 at that stage. And I was like, I feel like I'm 90, 95. I was exhausted, very tired, kept up with my sleeping habits and exercise, and all those great things with nutrition as well, still taking care of myself. But I was constantly tired. I started forgetting things. My concentration was not there. I had headaches. I had pain in my body. I was very much irritated, like my mood and mood swings. I started isolating as well. And throughout this, I'm an introvert, and like I said, I'm living alone. So for me, this is kind of, this is like my everyday life. So I'm not putting two and two together.
Mhm.
At the end of it, I started losing my hair. That was probably a big one as well. My sleeping just went out the window. So that definitely just was not a priority, or I couldn't get enough sleep. Um, I was also very confused, let's say, in my day-to-day work of getting things done, and really hitting those targets and goals. So at the end, my last hospital visit was actually with in a or for dementia, and in a hospital
Wow.
specializing on that, because they wanted to do different. They've sought out, it's not a brain tumor, it's not this, that, and the other, but we did the test for dementia and those other things related around it. And at the end of the day, we did different tests, the ADHD, all ADD, everything that you can think of. And ultimately, I was diagnosed with depression and burnout, and
Right.
full burnout.
Right.
And even with that, what's funny, can I go back to your
No,
original,
please do.
or
Yeah.
not so funny, but your original point is, I remember going home that day of getting, finally, this is what it is, almost a year and a half trying to figure out, and calling my boss, and still in complete denial, where I thought, oh, okay, well, I'll just be off sick for a few weeks, 3, 4 weeks. I'm sure I can handle some emails, and speaking to my boss on the phone, and literally telling her, I'll be back in a few weeks. This is nothing. I just need to rest, still complete denial. And even hanging up the phone there and waking up the next morning, I couldn't move. Like, my body had completely shut down, and my parents had to come and pick me up after a few days, because I couldn't even take care of myself.
Now, was this while you were in Sweden or was this in the US?
So this was while I was in Sweden.
Okay, and the reason I ask is because I don't feel like doctors in the US would
Mm,
take me coming in, at least my doctor, and I like
yeah.
my doctor. If I came in and I said, I think it's burnout, I
Mm,
think they would be like, well, that take a day off, get
mm,
some sleep. Here's a sleeping pill. I don't know that they would take it seriously. So I am
mhm,
curious. I don't even know that in all the years I have, and I've shared with you that I'm bipolar. And so I
mm,
have been through the doctor's appointments where, sometimes it's a quick diagnosis. So I guess what I'm
Mhm,
getting at
mhm.
is I'm impressed that they would diagnose you as burnout.
Mm, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't
Abs
think that
abs
happens in the US.
Absolutely. And I can say, just hearing what you shared there, Sharon, I mean, I've heard both the good and bad with this, and various doctors, and actually who you meet, and from both clients, but friends with mine, and people in school when I went to finally, study to get certified as a stress management and burnout prevention coach, that the lack of, let's say, doctors, or finding the right doctor for you and understanding what this is and continuing with the tests. Like, I really pushed on that for my, I want to say own sanity, but really well-being, because I was like, there is something wrong. I know my body, I know my mind. Yes, I might be in denial now, and be, been running on autopilot for many years, but I know there is something wrong. Like, we need to continue to figure this out. And after speaking with so many, I know also that I was very lucky to get the right doctor.
Right.
Like, that was an absolute blessing with this, an elder lady, who was just absolutely fantastic, and continue to listen. I mean, really continue to listen, and continue to want to find the answer, and reason, and what was going on for me. And I know that's not the case for everyone.
Now I know you said, I went home. You're
Mm,
obviously processing. What does this mean?
mhm,
Like, at what point did you go, I need more than a few weeks off. I need a life change. And how
mm.
scary was that?
Oh, it was so scary. It was very scary. It was very scary. For me, the first weeks where I knew, kind of, okay, this is happening, it was just a case of leaning into it. And I say leaning into it because I was sleeping for 23 hours a day.
Wow.
Now, yes, I did get, in that sense, medication, for an antidepressant,
Mhm.
prescribed from my doctor, which I didn't, I wasn't jumping for joy, wanting to start that route, because I had known with other things. I was like, Are there other ways we can handle this?" And of course, my recovery, I did 10 different things at least, with medication on the side, and that was okay, and that is fine if you want to choose that, because in some cases it's very much necessary, and I understood then it was so necessary for myself. But those first few months, I was sleeping. I was sleeping. I could not, take steps to go to, let's say, the restroom, which is just down the hall from me,
Mhm.
put clothes on. It was really bad those few months. So, with that being said, the only thing that I could realize, let's say, in my darkest time, which was, how am I going to get through another day? Like, how do I, am I waking up tomorrow morning? Like, it
Right.
was very, very tough. And for me, that was acceptance, and was the only thing I could really, um, lean into, or look at with my life, of saying, I don't even have the cognitive ability to think outside the box, and where I'm going, and how my life change will be. So it was acceptance that really carried me over the first few months.
Mhm.
And then starting to, there was absolutely, like, there was no reading, there was no TV, or there was nothing like that, because cognitively I wasn't able to process anything. So I just rested and slept, and I said, I'm going to let my body,
Heal.
heal, and just
Yeah.
really rest to absolutely what it needs at that stage. And then I can start taking short little walks. I can start, doing some breathing exercises. And then I can start, my first visit wasn't even to a therapist at that stage, because again, I wasn't ready, or I wasn't in that space just yet, but it was going to a breathing class, and that my parents could drive me to this once a week. And it was basically, we were in a dark room, and just the pillows and covers, everything on on us on our yoga mats, and just learning to breathe again, and did that for an hour, 90 minutes once a week.
Wow.
And then eventually some more, healing and with my body physically. That was the most, important step for me, or step one, to get out there, because then as my mentally, cognitively started to heal as well, that's when I could go see a therapist.
Right. So,
Mm,
I mean, I'm so impressed with the steps that you took. First of all, what
mm,
you very few people will come on and say, "Listen, not only did I hit a wall, I
mm,
I hit that wall at 100 miles an hour and it laid you out."
yeah.
And I appreciate the fact that you're willing to say, "Listen, I literally just shut down. I had
Mm,
to take time." I understand what you're saying though about acceptance, that there's a
mm,
little bit of calmness or
mm,
that comes with this is happening and I'm just going
mhm,
to ride this wave and I'm
yeah.
going to get better.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It just brought like the peace I needed for then to really just be and to let go of all the doing and all the would have, should have, could have,
Right.
and just that spinning of my thoughts and mind and everything with work. It was like,
Just let it go.
one, we're just gonna focus on acceptance.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay. So now you're on the path to healing a little bit. You've got
Hmm.
therapy, you've got some holistic things. We're going to talk about your holistic approach. Um, but there must be your wheels are spinning a little bit about what's your next step.
Yeah, yes, yes, of
So
course.
what do you do?
So with this, with my healing, like I said, I was going then to therapy, and having some time where I was on sick leave, so I had some downtime with this. And of course, with healing, with both trauma healing, with acupuncture, with going to another retreat where there was basically on my holistic health and well-being, all these stages, brought up during a time, because this is, I was sick for 2 years. So let's say this is, a year going through this as well, or a year and a half. I also really learned to listen and check in with myself, and built that connection with myself, which was present and not, running on autopilot. So of course I dug deep, and there was very tough times and there was very upsetting times, but it was also time of questions, and questions of my values and alignment of, am I happy in this job, or am I happy in a role like this? Do I is this the path I'm supposed to be on for the next 10, 20, 30 years
Hmm.
with my career? And that of course came up to, no, it wasn't. And what would I like to do instead? And for me, it's always been health and wellness, and something I've always been interested in. And I started to look at schools. I wasn't really ready or aware of, let's say, what's out there, because
Hmm.
it wasn't stress and burnout prevention coaching immediately. It was first, health and wellness coach that I studied to, and a nutritionist. And once I got to school and studied that first year, of course, this blossomed, and some burnout prevention was a topic in there, or let's say one of the subjects that we were studying throughout the year. And for me, then again, meeting more people, having more conversations, finding that there's so many others that are burnt out, and I'm actually not alone in this, because I felt very alone when it was happening, because I didn't know anyone who had gone through burnout, like none of
Right.
my friends, no one in work. I had um a very, let's say, bad view on it, which I've spoke of earlier, that I thought burnout would happen to weaker people, people that didn't have the goal or drive or focus, people that couldn't handle a lot of things going on in their life, or juggling all these balls at once. And so I completely dismissed it and did that wrongfully, which it's actually the opposite. It is us, the high achievers, the type A personalities, the go-getters. We're often the ones that do burn out.
Right.
So just having these conversations and meeting more people, and they were telling me the same thing. They felt alone. They didn't know where to find, like groups or resources or really someone to talk to who had an idea or had gone through the same experience. That's what it was, finding that community and connection. So with that being said, it was very clear that I knew my next step was continuing my education for stress and burnout prevention. And then ultimately with mindfulness as well, because that came, as a wonderful, wonderful tool and big part in burnout, both prevention and recovery.
Right. And now you have a 4-step program called
Hmm.
Into Empowerment.
Yes, yes.
So tell me about that.
So with this 4 step, I mean, this is then again, with both my own experiences, both through school and both through working with clients now for a few years, that I saw, if we look at burnout prevention, where are those pillars? What do we need in a sense of support, and especially with preventing this and knowing that yes, we are the high achievers, we are going to go after our goals, we have that work, and really work life harmony is the ultimate, goal of where we want to be and live our best lives. And really with that, it started with self mastery, which is the first pillar of knowing ourselves. That's having that self awareness, knowing, following our thoughts, our emotions, behaviors, having that connection of knowing what our triggers are.
Yes.
Because ultimately, yeah, when we look at stress and stress management, yes, it's part of our evolution. It's there, for our survival, but it's also when we look at it to look at the root cause. Where's our stress coming from? Because once we start to dig a little there, it will look different for everyone, but that's really where the key is to diving into that and befriending it.
Yes.
So self mastery was a huge one, looking at our strengths and weaknesses, looking at our values, having that core foundation again to really build on. And there will be some difficult questions, in that part, but very much helpful questions of getting to know you and yourself. And with those questions of also looking at the root cause in many situations.
Right. So now, okay. So now you, I know. I
Hmm.
saw you on Glenn Hausman's podcast, and I was like, oh,
Yes.
I want to talk to her. And you do a lot of public speaking now, and you do a lot of corporate engagements. So, what is your advice to these corporations? I mean, obviously, we live in the age of COVID. Everybody is stressed out of
Mhm,
their
mhm.
minds. If you're not working from home and you've had to go back into the office, that's just as stressful. So
Yeah,
what do you tell people now, corporations who are like, maybe we need to do something. Maybe we need to look at our
yeah.
employees' burnout rates. Like, what is the first step?
I mean, it really is with employees now we see, and corporate and corporations, the wellness programs they have, what they have in place, what they don't have in place. It really comes down to the psychological safety. Psychological safety, where is that focus? And I would say open and vulnerable conversations of looking at both mental health in our well-being, because more and more, I know myself and for so many other, we want to end the stigma around mental health, that it's something we can speak about. And as employees today, and especially with the past 2 years, we definitely need to focus on where the leadership is, and where those, the managers, under the managers, employees, but it really goes from top down. I say that so often because it's important to understand that everyone needs to be involved in this, and everyone needs to be involved in the resources that they want to bring into the company, or let's say with the programs, and look at every aspect of the employees, because that can be just like we were saying before, there's a mindset mindfulness to it. There is healthy habits as an individual. There is setting boundaries, but there is also an overall for the company, that communication and trust factor of how leadership is dealing with this, and being able to also not be afraid to be vulnerable and say that this is a very tough time, and we want to get in and offer you resources if that is, an evaluation, like a something need to get filled out from the employees of everyone, writing this and going into a detailed, where are we lacking, we need to put more funds in, we need to put more resources in, we need to put more help from either that's outside or specialist, or if that's bringing in individual coaches. But it definitely is looking at top down from leadership and having these difficult discussions, and not being afraid of that vulnerability, because we're all in this situation together. We've been in this past 2 years, and it is tough,
Right.
knowing everyone is reacting different as well. Like, everyone is experiencing this with different levels of, if they're a mom at home with 3 kids, or if they're, single being at their household working remote, or going back into the office, that can also bring a lot of anxiety. But everyone is different, and where they're coming from, I think we need to open that up to a very safe and psychological safety, and with that communication.
I agree. Do you think, I always try to find a silver lining. Do you think
Mm,
a small silver lining of this pandemic is that this topic is more prevalent now in corporations, that
mm.
people are being a little bit more open with their mental health status and with burnout?
Yeah. Yes, I think so, absolutely. Um, and I mean, I did a research-based test. I think it was the first year within COVID, or just after the first 10 months of going out speaking to leaders, and let's say the higher senior managers in corporate company executives, and just asking them a few simple questions of, how has the pandemic experience been, what has been happening both for you and your employees. But the interesting question there at the end was, what is this brought upon you, or what have you reflected on this time? And about 6 out of 10, every 6 out of 10 person would say that it's giving me a chance to pause, and it's giving me a chance to reflect, and it's giving me a chance to really evaluate what is important in my life. And I think we're seeing that a lot, that people are understanding, health is my number one, it's family, it's my friends, and then it's work,
Yeah.
or work is coming over, on the list of 4 or 5. Like, there's so many other parts of our life that are important. And I think something like this has been given to us, where we have had time to reflect. We have been home, we've been spending a lot of time with our family, and that came out to a positive answer for them. So I believe there is a silver lining in this, and I think there's a lot of change happening right now, and I think we'll see it even more so with the aftermath of the pandemic,
Yeah.
and how, we really prioritize mental health, both for ourselves as individual, but companies. And that goes the same with burnout, because it's really the two, it's our work and with the companies and what's going on there, but also an individual aspect of taking care of ourselves, and having those, pillars in place, that we can prevent our own burnout with the tools and resources.
I agree. Okay, one final question.
Yeah.
You do work a lot in the holistic arena,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
I would love to hear your thoughts on just maybe one or two things somebody like myself who finds themselves like super stressed out of their minds, and has 8 million balls in the air. Just one or two things that you can go, just try this, just bring it down a level.
Mm. Great question. Great question. And automatically I want to, there's so many things, but I will of course keep it simple. And like I was saying, those 4 pillars: the self-awareness, the mindfulness mindset, healthy habits, and also setting boundaries. And 2 of them I would say is, look at how you are starting your day. And I've spoken about this a lot, especially with January 1st, and everyone was feeling pressure from goals or resolutions or everything. And I just said, let's break it down really simple. Do not look at your phone the first hour. After first hours, we wake up.
That's a
And
hard
leave
one.
your phone. It is extremely difficult. I will
Yeah.
say that. I've done that as well for many years. I don't do that now. And it's just a complete game changer. Having our phone, leaving it alone the first hour, and just giving yourself some space. Especially moms, moms and dads. I speak with them so often about this. Like having that first 30 minutes or an hour to yourself, doing a little breathing exercise, a meditation, even if it's just, some journaling, having a cup of coffee or breakfast by yourself, like me time, and starting the day with presence and calm, peace of mind. That's what
I
it's
love
about
that.
there.
That
Yeah.
is fantastic advice. Rebecca, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for being a guest.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I had such a great time, and it's been wonderful speaking to you on this topic here, and an important subject of where we're at right now with our health.
Tell everybody how they can reach out to you.
So you can find me on LinkedIn is probably where I'm most active right now. So you can find me there under Wellness by Rebecca, or you can also find me on my website, wellnessbyrebecca.com.
Nice. Rebecca, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure.
All right, I'm going to pause the recording. All right, everybody, that was the amazing Miss Rebecca O'Brien. And what you may not have known is she was actually coming to us from her home in Sweden. And with the pandemic, she is in Sweden right now, and she's running her business from there, and she's doing everything remote and like the rest of us on Zoom. So just thank you so much, Rebecca. This was an amazing. All right, guys, if you enjoyed today's episode, please support us. Please follow us on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get podcasts. Again, leave us a review, like us, do all those cool things. We're also on YouTube. I saw a poll just yesterday that a big majority of you get your music and podcasts on YouTube. So go to YouTube. We are on there. And if you need some procurement help, please reach out to us. If you'd like to be a guest, reach out to us. We would love to hear from you. All right, guys, see you next week. Have a good day.